Thank you all so much for being here. It is a joy to have you. I want to welcome you to the Alpha Course. I want to welcome you who are watching live stream. And thank you for joining us, whether it's live or recorded. My name is Frank Loria, and it is my joy and privilege to get to stand up here and enjoy you being here. And this is the 45th time we have done the Alpha Course. And we typically do it twice a year. If not for a few hurricanes, I think this would be 49. So let me ask you, how many of you are here for the first time? First Alpha ever? Wow, well that is great. Welcome. Now, I know several of you come to Alpha a lot, and we very lovingly call you Alphaholics. And we are setting up an Alphaholics Anonymous for anyone that's having a difficult time. But we are happy you're here. Let me tell you a little bit about me, and I'll tell you a little bit about the Alpha Course, give you a little bit of history of the Alpha Course as well. And hopefully after this evening, you'll see that it is going to be well worth your while, if just for the food, and you don't have to clean up after dinner, to join us for 7 more Tuesday nights together. Typically, after a long day, you'll have a nice big meal, and then we'll wake you up at around 8 o'clock, just about time for us to go. But a little bit about me. I was in the business world had a company that I worked with and owned for about 44 years, and sold that, retired from that a couple of years ago, and now I am here at the church and enjoying that. This is crazy. This coming Sunday will make 45 years that my wife and I have attended this church. It's only 45 years because every other church we asked if we could go to would not accept us. So, but before I go any further, I need to introduce to you my gorgeous wife. So, sweetheart, would you stand up? This is my wife, Annette, standing, and she is my wife of 46 years, 6 months, 17 days, about 8 hours, and is it 15 minutes? And we have 3 grown kids who are married to 3 other grown kids who have given us 12 grandkids. Annette graduated from Dominican High School in New Orleans. I went to an all-boy military school called New Orleans Academy, where I graduated with distinctions. I graduated in the top 18 of my class of 21. And I chose not to pursue a college education, so I attended Louisiana State University, where I could pursue a lot of things I couldn't pursue while I was at home. And actually, it was at LSU. I joined the wildest fraternity on campus. I was a deek at LSU, and actually, that's where I met Annette. She was swinging from a chandelier, and that's really where she caught my eye with her heel, and then my shoulder with her knee, and down we went, and the woman's been all over me ever since then. At least that's how I've trained myself to remember it, but I'm actually beginning to believe it. But a little more about me later, but the Alpha Course has actually had its start in England, in London, England. A pastor by the name of Nicky Gumbel took a little fledgling Bible study in an Anglican church called Holy Trinity Brompton. And Holy Trinity Church, Brompton, a suburb of London. And he turned that into a course called the Alpha Course that has spanned the globe now. Over 100 languages in more than 130 countries, embraced by virtually every Christian denomination. 30-some-odd million people have attended Alpha through the years, and we've had Alpha here since 2001, and in the almost 24 years we've done Alpha, we've had over 9,000 people present, and we've had all different ministers from different denominations. We've been honored to have several Catholic priests here as well. Father Beau Charbonnet from St. Angela brought himself and his entire Christian education department. And it was an honor to have Bo here at all every week of Alpha. And Bo really paid us a great compliment when other priests have gone to Bo and said, "Hey, Bo, show us how to do Alpha." And it humbles me to say this. He says, no, you go to Lakeview and you watch them do the Alpha course. And so we are honored, humbled that he would say that. And he is a dear friend, and we are loving that Alpha has caught fire at St. Angela as well as at other churches through many denominations through New Orleans. So what is Alpha? Alpha is this. It is an introduction to biblical Christianity. And I make a big word about it. I don't want to just throw empty words at you as we speak here. When I say biblical Christianity, I make an emphasis on the word biblical. What is in the Bible? And so what we're going to be doing over the course is we're going to be looking at what is in the Bible. And we'll have opportunities after I'm finished talking to just ask questions around your table, share your thoughts, listen to other thoughts in a very and totally relaxed atmosphere. I mean, this is not going to be a Jerry Springer kind of thing here where we don't agree with one another, no chair throwing or anything like that. It's just going to be a very comfortable atmosphere to be in and ask all kinds of questions about what the Bible has to say about God and what the Bible has to say about you and me. And that's what we'll do when I'm done here. But I also want to tell you what Alpha is not. Okay, I think this is really important for you to know what Alpha is not. This is not a church membership drive at Lakeview Christian Center. Okay, this is not an opportunity for us to try to get you to change the denomination that you affiliate yourself with or the church that you attend. It has nothing to do with that also at all. We just want you to come and experience what thousands of people have experienced here at Lakeview since we started doing Alpha. Great food, a lot of fun, some really bad jokes. And finding out what the Bible has to say. You know, it's really our hope now in our crazy lives that have gotten so busy that maybe on Tuesday nights you'll just be willing to hit the pause button, come, have somebody make dinner for you, have somebody clean up after you, and you just be able to come and enjoy and sit and listen and think about the things that we say we need answers for, things that we say we desire answers for, but we rarely take the time to really find out about those. Answers that deal with our entire lives, not just a moment in time. You know, it was Socrates that said, "The unexamined life is not worth living." So he's saying, we can go through 70, 80 years of just doing whatever's in front of us and never really think deeply about the things that we say that we care about, but don't really make the time to investigate. And if we're going to attain what the vast majority of us say we're looking for, you know, you ask me, what do you want out of life? I want to be happy. I want my life to mean. I want it to have purpose. I want to be fulfilled. Well, if that's going to happen, we're going to have to examine not just what we believe, maybe things that you or I believe my whole life, but not just what I believe. It's nice that we believe something, but I don't want to believe the wrong thing. I don't want to believe a lie just because it makes me feel good, and I just don't want to believe something that I think is true, but it's not true. I don't want to believe something that just because it makes me feel, not believe something because it makes me feel bad. Truth is truth. Truth is self-validating. Truth doesn't care whether you believe it or not. Truth stands on its own. And that's what I want to know. And I trust that's what you want to know. I trust that's hopefully why you're here. And so it's going to take us some time. We're going to have to tap the brakes. Maybe we're going to have to slam on the brakes. But here's an insightful thought from author and teacher Os Guinness. I thought that you would appreciate this. He says, most of us feel immortal in our teens and 20s. Then we move through life so fast in our 30s and 40s that we lose sight of the journey and we think only of our careers. Been there? Some of you are right there right now. Even in our 50s, we barely hear the roar of the rapids several bends down river. Have you awakened to the journey of life? Or are you among those drifting down the years? Are you among those caught up on the project of themselves? That quote just needs to be repeated. Are you among those so caught up on the project of themselves that they choose not to hear the flow of time? Are you living an examined life, Socrates? Or are you living in the hand-me-down ideas of others? Are you open? It's a good question for us to ask ourselves as we're going to be challenged on some things that we believe. Or maybe things will be confirmed. Are you open to the full interrogation of life? Or are you closed to the search because you believe what you've always believed without question? Well, I trust that you're here because you're open to the full investigation of and interrogation of life. Man, you think of people who have made it to the top of their profession. I mean, people that have made it to the top of their profession, made lots of money, certainly they don't have any questions about meaning or purpose in life, right? Well, apparently that's not right. Freddie Mercury. Some of you guys know who this is. Incredible vocalist, piano player. Led the band Queen. Died at age 45 of AIDS. Tragedy. This is what Mercury says. He says, you can have everything in the world and still be the loneliest man. And that's the most bitter type of loneliness. Success has brought me world idolization, millions of pounds, but it's prevented me from having the one thing we all need, a loving, ongoing relationship. He says, can you imagine how terrible it is when you've got everything and you're still desperately lonely? That is awful beyond words. What a tragedy. Well, maybe he's so lonely, maybe he needed more friends. But here's another tragedy in that. Matthew Perry died at age 54, October, a couple of years ago, of a drug overdose. He said, nobody wanted to be famous more than me. I was convinced it was the answer. I was 25. It was the second year of Friends, and 8 months into it, I realized the American dream is not making me happy, not filling the holes in my life. I couldn't get enough attention. Fame does not do what it's going to do. Sorry. Fame does not do what it's going to do. It was all a trick. And then he writes in his book, Friends, Lovers, and the Big Terrible Lie, and nobody who is not famous will ever truly believe that. Wouldn't we all say, well, let's just give me a chance to have all the money you had, Matthew, and we'll see if I can make it work. But it's so interesting to see that. And I could bring you examples from Ted Turner, famous, business people, other entertainers, artists, etc., that saw the same thing. We could spend here all night with those quotes. One guy that we know about is a guy by the name of Tom Brady. Now, this is a little bit old, but I think Tom Brady, 20 years later, would be saying, unfortunately, the same thing he said to Steve Croft as he was interviewed on 60 Minutes.
Why do I have 3 Super Bowl rings?
7.
And still think there's something greater out there for me? I mean, maybe a lot of people would say, hey man, this is what it is. I reached my goal, my dream, my life is me. I think, God, it's got to be more than this. I mean, this can't be what it's all cracked up to be. I mean, I've done it. I'm 27. And what else is there for me?
What's the answer?
I wish I knew. I mean, I think that's part of me trying to go out and experience other things. But I love playing football and I love being the quarterback for this team. But at the same time, I think there's a lot of other parts about me that I'm trying to find.
Yeah. most people don't win 3 Super Bowl rings, much less 7 Super Bowl rings. And unfortunately, he has 1 less ring than he had when he made that interview because he ended up divorced and still searching. So maybe we need to go to the intellectuals. Maybe the intellectuals can help us. So let's go to Donald Kalish, the head of the chairman of the philosophy department at UCLA, nice university, from 64 to 67. He said, there's no system of philosophy to spin out. There are no ethical truths. They're just clarifications of particular ethical problems. Take advantage of these clarifications and work out your own existence. You are mistaken to think that anyone ever had the answers. There are no answers. Be brave and face up to it. Now, maybe I would have enjoyed taking one of his classes because if there are no answers, you can't fail. I mean, that would have been nice. But with all due respect to the late Dr. Kalish, he contradicts himself when he says there are no answers. Because there must be an answer to the question, Doctor, are there any answers to life? His answer is, there are no answers. So he's kind of contradicting himself when he says that. And the professor also said that life has no purpose. But he made it his purpose to tell all of his students and anybody else that would listen, life has no purpose. And so even in this esoteric philosophical world, there must be more to this. And so why should we believe Dr. Kalish's worldview? Well, the Bible takes issue with Dr. Kalish. The Bible claims that we can learn from the rich and the famous and the intellectual who have no answers. And the Bible that I had never read does claim to have answers to life's essential questions. Now let me just ask you this question. And just if you don't mind raising your hand. There's about, I guess, 200 or so of us in this room tonight. How many of you grew up, it was just a normal course of your life, just picking up a Bible and reading it? Just raise your hand. Okay, come on now. You're just being shy. This is not Russia. This is not Soviet Russia. You're not going to be carried away okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, all right, you can put your hands down now. You can leave now because we don't want you. Wow, 7 of us out of a room of 200. That's really interesting. See, the Bible claims to have answers. It claims to have worldview answers to worldview questions of origin. Where'd I come from? Purpose, why am I here? Identity, who am I? Destiny, where am I going? But mostly we don't so much care about where we came from, or we certainly don't want to think about where we're going necessarily. But what is my purpose? Really, I mean, you think about it. Who am I? How does that question get answered? Well, the Bible claims that God made each and every one of us to have meaning and purpose. Now, let me say this to you. I am not asking you to believe that. I'm not asking you to believe the Bible, okay? I'm just telling you what it says. And if you get nothing out of being here, and I certainly hope you'll come back or watch, and as many weeks as you come back, if nothing else, I think it'd be a win for any of us here to at least find out what this book says and what it doesn't say. Because I think a lot of us, me in particular, I can speak for me, I made up stuff. I could have written the gospel according to Frank, because stuff was not even in here that I would attach the name of Jesus and God to. It's kind of funny. I hope God laughed, at least. But so here's the thing. The Bible claims that God has given meaning and purpose to us. But if the Bible's true, what is in here? There are some incredible claims that are made about God, about Jesus, and about each and every one of us. I would argue, and again, don't ask you to believe this, you're written into this book. I am written into this book. There are truths that if, in fact, this book is true, we have to know. And it has nothing to do with your religion, your denomination, I'm not talking about Catholic, Baptist, Methodist, Presbyterian, whatever your particular ilk of denomination may be. I'm just talking about what does the Bible say. So he said that he came that we would have life and would have it meaningfully, abundantly, purposefully. A worldview that would stand the test of the hell and the heartache that are ours for the few years that we have on this earth. But to believe that is going to require faith. Now, are you a person of faith? You got faith? Maybe not so much, but I want you to understand this. We exercise, you and I, every one of us sitting here, every one of us watching, we exercise faith every day. Faith is not necessarily a religious thing. Any of you watch the weather, want to find out what's going on, and want to just know what you should be doing the next day? Maybe you've gotten the whole family together. You're watching the weather. It's the weekend of the family reunion. You've got all kind of people come, hundreds of people coming. And the weatherman has promised you a glorious, beautiful weekend. And this happens. I just love this because, here's this guy on his cell phone wanting to maybe find out how much longer it's going to rain. But this is my favorite dude right here. Look at him, man. He's saving that beer. That beer is not, who cares about getting wet? This is, he's like, heck with this rain. I got to save my beer. But how many times should weathermen be able to get it wrong? Until this happens. You just lock the sucker up. Next time you get the rain cell wrong, you're going to a jail cell, right? How many of you drove here tonight? I imagine most of you drove here tonight. Kyle told me that's how he got here tonight, and I appreciate that. But, some of you got here, and I've looked at some of the cars in the driveway. Some of you exercised a lot of faith looking at your cars. But when you got in your car, did you know it was going to start? Did you know the brakes would work? Did you know when you got to the red light, and it turned green, that when theirs turned red, that they were going to stop? Did you know that? Well, you think that, but isn't it faith? Yes, it's faith. Not necessarily blind faith, but it's faith. You don't know. You don't know. Y'all enjoyed the meal tonight? I hope you did. Did you meet the chef? Do you know what kind of day he had? Do you know how frustrated he is? This is the 45th Alpha he's cooked for. And nobody seems to appreciate him. And finally, he said, enough with these people. And he just adds a little something extra and then, a little bit later, you're feeling kind of sick, but you just ate and ate in faith. You go to a restaurant. Do you watch the cook prepare the food? Some of us, we went to back into the kitchen. There's no way we would eat in there. That's true. But we do it nonetheless, and then you get sick, and what do? You go to a doctor. Do you go to just any doctor? Is this the doctor you're going to? Okay. No, you don't go to just any doctor. You're not going to a doctor in a mobile home on Airline Highway, I hope. Okay? But this is what we exercise faith all the time, and we use our brain, at least I think, many times we use our brain. We look for reasons to believe this. How many of you like to fly? Yeah, okay. 7 of you read Bibles, and more of you want to fly. Okay. But how about this? Wouldn't you love to have been on this flight? Okay. U.S. Air Flight 1549, January 15th, 2009, flies out of LaGuardia Airport to Charlotte, and it hits a bunch of birds going in the wrong direction. And Captain Sully, guy's got a movie name. Tom Hanks plays him. It's just incredible, right? And I guess this gives new meaning to flying on a wing and a prayer, doesn't it? Air temperature, 18 degrees, 35-degree water temperature, every one of them. And I heard U.S. Air did not charge extra for this either. But again, faith, yeah. Blind faith, no. But we all have faith, right? If you've ever served on a jury, and I've had the opportunity to serve on a jury, maybe several of you, the judge says what? He says he charges the jury to come to a conclusion, either guilty or not guilty, not beyond a shadow of a doubt. Does he say that? He says beyond a reasonable doubt. And so I think it's important for us to not check our brains at the door when it comes to religious faith. We're going to talk a whole lot more about that. Now, let me just ask you this question. Okay, thank you for those of you who raised your hand a minute ago. I'm just ask one more raised question. I promise this is the last time I'll exert you. How many of you believe that there's something on the other side of your last breath, your last heartbeat? You believe it's going to last forever, and you're hoping it's going to be good. Just go ahead. Just raise your hand. Okay. So, a lot more hands that time. Okay. You people have faith. All right. Well, let me do this. Let me get Ian and Joseph up here real quick. So I want to give you an example that helps a whole lot here, and I need you guys quickly. Pronto, pronto. I just came from Guatemala. That was my Spanish word. Let me get Ian over here, and Joseph, I'm going to get you do the hard part. Okay. So Ian is here, and Ian is going to represent physical life. And as you can see, he's quite a specimen. So Ian's going to hold that there. Ian is a senior at Ben Franklin High School. And so, Joseph, I want you to take this and hold it tight as far way into the other room. I'd almost like you to leave the room, but just go as far as you can. Okay, we're doing good. Okay, so hold that up against one end of physical life. Okay, so this represents, we're going to call it the dash, physical life. Okay, and every one of us who is here tonight is alive, I trust, you're somewhere along the line of physical life. You don't know how close you are to the end of physical life, do you? Okay, you don't know when it's going to end. Some of you look like it could be any minute now. I'm not going to look at anyone in particular at this moment, but there's going to come, and here's the thing. I mean, physical life is important. How many decisions do we make in physical life? Austin, you made a very important decision, didn't you? Physical life, till death do you part, but as long as you both shall live. Right, Austin? That's right. All right. But we make all these important decisions in life. You know, where we're going to get educated, right? Where we're going to live, what we're going to invest in, all these things. We make all these decisions for things that are going to last just a small period of time. But they're important. Now, you guys just said you believe there's something on the other side of your last heartbeat, and you believe it's going to last forever, and you're hoping it's going to be good. But I just saw that only 7 of you have really spent time reading the Bible, or maybe even wondering, can I know? So if we spend all this time, get that thing up there. Okay, no, right here. There we go. Okay. So if we spend all this time on, where we're going to live, God forbid we get the wrong cell phone policy and get stuck in that for 2 years, right? I mean, that's hell. So if we were to spend all this time here, doesn't it make sense? And I know you would agree. It just makes sense. If I'm going to spend all this time dealing with important decisions here, they aren't important decisions. But how quick is life going? I mean, from 68 years have gone by like that. And if we believe there's something on the other side of my last heartbeat, doesn't it make sense that I would spend some time investigating, asking, seeking, knocking to find out, can I know what's on the other side of my last heartbeat? Can I even know where I'm going to be on the other side of my last heartbeat? Well, the Bible claims to have answers for that. And what we're going to do over the next few weeks that we're together is find out, what does it say? Next week, we're going to look at, are there any evidences, right, faith evidences to determine, can I make a rational decision one way or another? Or do I have to check my brain at the door? Or do I just believe it because my grandmother told me to believe it? Or because my dad told me not to believe it? Or I've had bad experiences with certain types of religious people. Is that going to determine what I believe and not believe? I hope not. And that's why I'm so grateful that you guys are here over these weeks together, that we can talk about this. Because as cool as this is, as we've heard from the people, the rich and famous, the intellectual, that doesn't fulfill. You know, it's interesting. Thank you, guys. You want to clap at them for giving us
I'm gonna let him do the hard part.
Do the hard
Let him
part.
walk it down.
Thank you. So this we call the dash, and this we call the line, and I'll just use those terminologies over the next few times that we are together. You can let it go. Just let it go. Let Joseph do the whole thing. Thank you, Joseph. All right, so, it was C.S. Lewis. Now, C.S. Lewis was, you've heard of C.S. Lewis, Chronicles of Narnia, professor of ancient English literature at both Oxford and Cambridge universities. This is what Lewis is brilliant, but he was an atheist who became a follower of Jesus Christ. And he said this, he says, if I find in myself a desire which no experience in this world can satisfy, the most probable explanation is that I was made for another world. If I find in myself a desire which no experience in this world, that is, in the dash, can satisfy, the most probable explanation is I was made for another world, that I was made for the line. Now, if that's true, if Lewis turned from ardent atheist to devoted follower of Jesus Christ, says that, he must have, intellectual, successful, author, speaker, incredibly important to the English, to the British during World War II in his broadcasts. Maybe there's something to what he said. Ray Pritchard, another author, said this. He said, we are made to know God. We are incurably religious by nature. That's why every human society, no matter how primitive, has some concept of a higher power, some vision of reality that goes beyond the natural, that goes beyond the dash. Augustine. Now, Augustine, I don't know how much you guys know about Augustine. We call him St. Augustine. He was the Hugh Hefner of the 300s. If you know anything about this guy, this was a womanizer's womanizer. This guy, he was out there. But he came to know Christ personally, completely changed his life. And he wrote this, he said, you made us for yourself. God, you made us for yourself. This is his prayer. And our hearts are restless until they find their rest in you. That's a faith statement. Doesn't make it true because Augustine said it. Doesn't make it true because Pritchard says it. Doesn't make it true because Lewis said it. But can we know? Is there evidence to support their life, radical life changes? And yet, it just seems that, we have trouble as humans finding our way. Today, there's so many ways. There's so many directions in life. And that's the Bible's declaration of the necessity, the reason, the purpose of the incarnation of the Son of God. And if you will, heaven's rescue mission to win back to God the inhabitants of planet Earth. That would be you, and that would be me. To give us purpose and meaning in the dash and even in the line. Now, obviously, I've had the chance to say hi to several of you this evening, but possibly, I haven't been able to talk in any depth with you, but possibly you have or you still do see Christianity as you know it, as boring, irrelevant, maybe even untrue. Our hope that is through the weeks, if you continue to join us, you're going to find biblical Christianity as just the opposite. But here, if you think Alpha is some way, though, you come to these meetings and you'll be nicer, you'll go to church more. You're going to feel like going to church more. Maybe you're going to be wanting to give more money away. You're going to be sorely disappointed because that is not at all what Alpha's about. Alpha is basically about, is there a God? Can I know him? Is there evidence to support that? Is this book telling me the truth about him? That's what this is about. What happens as a result of that, take it or leave it, is up to you. I'm not here selling anything. I'm here telling you what happened to me. Folks at your table that are here telling you what happened to them. They were this way, and God happened to them, and now they're this way. It doesn't make it truth. But can we look at this together and use the minds that we have and humble ourselves and say, you know what? Maybe I don't have all the answers. Maybe there is more to life than this. Maybe I can learn something while I'm here. Well, if there is a God, I'll go on a limb and say this for him. There's no way he will resist that humility and that openness and that willingness to say, you know what? Maybe I don't have all the answers after all. That would be good. So what we'll see throughout the Bible is declarations that Jesus made about himself that are so contrary, as I said, to what I sincerely assumed about him and about his purpose of coming to earth. And what my standing was before him. I had determined what my standing was before God based on the authority of myself. Yeah, but it's so important to know that. Now, as I close here, I'm going to just talk about 3 things that Jesus had to say about himself, things that have ramifications in the dash and in the line. I'm going to bring to you a scripture, and if you want to, you can just turn to you can open up your Alpha booklet, and I came here all prepared tonight, and here's my book. It's hiding back here. And you can just turn to page 8, I believe it is. Okay? And Jesus said, I am the way. Okay? So this is what he was asked the question by one of his disciples, Lord, we don't know the way. But he said to him, Jesus said, I am the way and the truth and the life. We're going to break that down into 3 components here of what he said. Because if this is true, this has ramifications. Okay, hear me. If this is the truth, this has ramifications for us. Now, March 13th, 2025, and March 14th, every day of the dash and beyond. He said, I am the way. Now, it's interesting. He said he was. He didn't say the rules were, or the 10 Commandments were, or church attendance is, or do-gooding, or praying, or giving money, or just checking your religious box check on Sundays. Jesus understood, if what the Bible says is true, Jesus understood the condition of every one of our hearts that were restless. Now think of this. Think if any of these fit you tonight. Restless, unsettled, wayward, empty, proud, confused, heartbroken, lonely. You fill in any more adjectives that you'd like to fill in tonight. See, the heart of Christianity, the heart of biblical Christianity is not rule keeping. It is God knowing. It is knowing the person of Jesus Christ who said, I want you to know that I am the way, the truth, and the life. So he said, I am the way. Here's another verse. And now, just so you know, John is the 4th gospel in the New Testament. It is the 4th. If you're not familiar with the Bible, which I understand many of us aren't, but the 14th chapter and the 6th verse. See, the Bible wasn't originally broken down into chapters and verses. It was just the Gospel of John. First line, last line. But to make it easier to find things, it was broken down, and I think it was 1560, and the Geneva Bible was broken into chapters and verses to make it easier for us to understand. So the Gospel of John, or St. John, the 14th chapter, 6th verse, and then in the 10th chapter, the 9th verse and part of 10, he says, I am the door. So he says, I am the way. Then he goes on to say, well, I am the door. If anyone enters through me, now get that. I mean, the words mean something. And I think it's important that we just grasp what I am the door. If anyone enters through me, I'm the door, through me, he will be saved. Well, saved from what? Well, saved from going in the wrong direction. If what he's saying is true, if you're going through any door but me, you're going through the wrong door. You're going the wrong way. And so I'm the door. If anyone enters through me, he will be saved and go in and out and find pasture. Now what do we care about pasture? I mean, we're not sheep. What he means by that is you'll find security. In all the challenges of physical life and experiences that life brings us, he says you'll find pasture. That is a place of peace. It is a place of security. It is a place of provision. And then he says, I came that they is us, might have life and have it abundantly, full of meaning, full of purpose, in the dash, and then on the other side of our last heartbeat, forever. So he also said this. Jesus said, I am the way and the truth. Now, some would particularly ask, in this area, this realm of religion, isn't it enough to just be sincere about what you believe? Now think about that. Isn't it enough just to be sincere? Well, I just sincerely believe that. Well, have you ever sincerely believed something and been sincerely wrong? Does it really matter, though, what we believe? Really, sincerity has, as I said earlier, has nothing to do with it. Truth is self-substantiating. Truth doesn't care whether I believe it or not. Truth is truth. I believed sincerely for many years, but then I found out I was sincerely wrong. So it doesn't matter what I believe. Okay? Does it matter what we believe? Well, some would say this, again, sincerely. I'm not making fun of this. It's not what you believe, but that you believe. Okay, now that sounds great, very esoteric in the religious realm, spiritual realm. It's not what you believe, but that you believe. You often almost have to say it in a hushed tone. But would you say this? Would you agree this with me? It's not what you eat, but that you eat. Now, we're Americans, all right? So maybe not. We just came back from Guatemala, and it's not what you drink, but that you drink. Well, if you want to be dead, it's not what you drink. Just go ahead and drink that water all you want. How about this? It's not what you breathe, but that you breathe. And you work in a chemical refinery, okay, or a chemical plant? No. You say, no, that's not true. Anybody in the finance world? It's not what you invest in, but that you invest. I mean, if you care about your retirement, you're going to be paying seriously close attention, or you're going to be paying somebody that you have faith to believe that they're going to be taking care of your money. Some of us may say this, I mean, we're getting so old, it's not what you marry, but that you marry. You know, I mean, time is running out here. Let's find something. But do we live that way? No, we don't live that way. No, of course we don't live that way. It matters. But, you know, does declaring what is true for you make it true for me? You know, you have your truth. I mean, that's so popular today. You have your truth, and I have my truth, and you just keep your truth, and I'll keep my truth, and don't tread on me type thing. Well, let's just hear it from the high priestess of all things wise, Oprah Winfrey, at the Golden Globe Awards 2018. Speaking your truth is the most powerful tool we all have. What the heck does that even mean? Speaking your truth is the most powerful tool we all have. With all due respect to this billionaire woman, what is true for her doesn't make it true. And what is true for you doesn't necessarily mean it's true. What I believe doesn't make it true. Truth is self-validating. You may have your truth, and I may have my truth, but what if they contradict one another? Two things can't be true at the same time and be contradicting one another. You can't say it's spit dark in here, and even if you believe that with all your heart, the lights are on, it's not. You may not believe in gravity, but if you want to walk to the top of this building right now, It doesn't matter how much that it is your truth that gravity is not going to affect you. You're going down at 32 feet per second until you hit the concrete. And so am I. Truth is self-validating. Truth is self-substantiating, as sincere as she may be. And now this is true as well, because aren't there a bunch of religions? Who's to say what the right one is? So people have trouble with the exclusivity of Christianity. Well, every religion is exclusive if you want to delve into every religion. The issue is not exclusivity. The issue is, are any of them true? Well, aren't they all just, you've seen this mountain and all just have different paths to get to the same place? No, they aren't saying the same thing. Mormonism is not saying the same thing as what Jehovah's Witnesses say. Mormonism believes in hundreds of gods. Mormonism believes if you live the right life, and you basically could become God of your own planet. That people can advance and evolve to godhood. Jehovah's Witnesses do not believe that Jesus was God, nor that he was physically resurrected. Orthodox Christians believe that he was God the Son incarnate and was physically resurrected. Hindus believe in thousands, if not millions of gods. Muslims believe in one God. They do not believe that Jesus was incarnated, the Son of God. Do not call God the Son. God does not have a son. That Jesus was actually not crucified on the cross. Someone stood in his place. Now I'm going to tell you, in week 3, if you're here, and I hope you're here, we're going to go into a whole lot more detail about comparative religions and seeing the difference in religions. But I want you to say they can't all be true if they're all contradicting one another. We can't say that this is true and it's A, and this is true and it's B if they're saying completely different things. We're just thinking here about this. And as I said earlier, what I really love is the fact that the God of the Bible did not ask us to throw our brains away or check them at the door when it came to talking about religion. As a matter of fact, in one of the books of the Hebrew Scriptures, it says that God had Moses write this: "Hear, O Israel, the Lord your God is one, and you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind." And so there's a challenge that comes from the Scriptures themselves that says, think, reason, evaluate, come together, discuss. And the Bible also says that Jesus said, "I am the way, the truth, and the life." Now, this is what the Bible teaches. Again, not asking you to believe it, but at least you're going to know what it says. That we were made, that man was made in the image of God. That God made man in his image to be able to think, to choose, to feel, to reason. But we marred the image of God when in the garden, we know it as the Garden of Eden, Adam and Eve, our two progenitors, rebelled. They did the very thing that God told them not to do. See, Jesus says, "I have come to give you life." Well, why does he say he's come to give me life? I look alive, I feel alive. He must be talking about a different type of life. And he is. See, in Genesis 3, God told Adam, "I've put 2 trees in the garden here, amongst all the trees. One is the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, and one is the tree of life. The day you eat of the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, you shall surely die." Now, and what happened? Adam, Eve rebelled. They ate of that. We're going to talk more about that in week 3 as well. And what happened? They immediately died. Life in relationship with God died. Their relationship horizontally with one another began to deteriorate, just like it's doing in mankind at incredibly rapid rates right now, the divisions among us. So immediately died in relationship with God, began to dissipate and dissolve in relationship to one another. And then we died to our bodies. See, death in the Bible is not annihilation, but separation. Because Adam didn't just drop dead the moment he ate of the fruit. He died relationally to God. So death is not annihilation, but separation. And every one of us inherit that independent, rebellious nature. And it's proven every day, isn't it? Somebody cuts you off in traffic. You start praying for them, don't you? You pray that they get theirs, is what you pray, right? You know, this happens all the time. You see something you want, you take it. You see somebody's wife or husband, you want them, or you take it. I mean, now with the Internal Revenue Service, that's another thing altogether. I mean, we don't mind just not giving them everything that they want necessarily, but that's what we are. It's proven every day, whether we're 2, 22, or 82. We want what we want when we want it, and the heck with you. But I just imagine if a 2-year-old could do the damage of a 22-year-old when it comes to rebellion. That would be interesting. But we see it all over. And it was really framed in a poem by a British poet by the name of William Ernest Henley. This is the last stanza of his poem Invictus. He says, "It matters not how straight the gate." Now, what's he talking about there? Jesus said in Matthew chapter 7, "The way is narrow and hard that leads to life." So he's saying, it doesn't matter how straight the gate, how fraught with punishment the scroll. You know what he's talking about there, the scroll, the 10 Commandments. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul. I would love to have a conversation with Mr. Henley right now. Wouldn't it be great we could just interview him at this moment? Well, maybe it did matter a little bit about how straight the gate or how fraught with punishment the scroll. See, Jesus comes into the midst of our self-reliance, in the midst of you and me saying, excuse me, God, I am the captain of my fate. I am the master of my soul. He comes into the middle of that self-reliance and says this. He says, you're heading in the wrong direction. I'm the way. You believe in a lie. I am the truth. We're dead in our relationship with him, but I am the life. Those are the things he comes to tell us. He said, I have come to give you life. He did not say, I came to give you church. Now, do I have a problem with church? I'm standing in a church. I am a leader in a church. But what I'm saying is, I grew up thinking the more I went to church and the more I prayed and the more I did other things, that's how I got God off my back to give me what I wanted. We're going to talk a lot more about that as well in the next few weeks. So he didn't say just come to church. I mean, church is not a car wash for the soul till next week. You know, to where you just go right through and, you know, just get washed off a little bit, feel a little bit better, you know, and because that deals with the outside. Maybe you look great on the outside for a week, maybe you feel a little better, but Jesus didn't come to deal with the outside. He came to deal with the inside. All right, I'm closing up here. But this is what Jesus claimed. This is what John the Apostle wrote of Jesus, that God so loved the world that he gave his only Son, that whoever believes in him. Now, if you'll stick with us through the weeks, we're going to really dissect this word believes. What does that really mean? Whoever believes in him should not perish. Okay? We're talking about dash and line implications here. He sent his Son into our dash. That he gave his Son that whoever believes in him should not perish, but have eternal life. That on the other side of your and my last heartbeat, it would be life forever with him like you and I cannot even begin to imagine. That's what he said. Now, but I want us to hear this, and I want you to hear this tonight if you would for yourself. I want you to fill your name in here, okay? For God so loved you, Mia, that God so loved you, that he gave his only Son. that if, Kyle, if you would believe in him, you would not perish, but you would have eternal life. Again, to take this out of the realm of the corporate thought and let it be right between the eyes and right between our hearts, what if this is true? What if there is more to life than this? Okay, I'm going to pass these two things here. This is great. Sorry you're going to miss it. All right. Now, if you live 70 years, you will sleep 20 years and 3 months. You will watch TV 10 years and 5 months. It's probably higher, but you will be in a car or a plane or a bus 5 years and 7 months, unless you live in Guatemala City, and then you will spend your entire life in a car going nowhere. And I have evidence to prove that. You'll eat or drink 7 years, 6 months. Now, if you're 50, you're going to live another 175,316.4 hours. Okay? If you are 40, you're going to live 262,974 hours. If you're my age, you're only going to live 17,531 more hours. Okay, now why am I saying all that? Because if you come to Alpha, you're going to spend about 24 hours examining the most important question. Is there more to life than this? Okay, we're going to take a break in just a minute. Hey, want to invite you. We can make more room. If you would like to come back and you want to bring some with you, please do that. We would love that. If you're watching live stream and you want some of the information that we have, we'd be happy to mail it to you and get this information to you as well. Now, what we're going to do in a minute, we're going to take a break. We've got coffee, restrooms are down the hall and downstairs. We'll do this as quickly as we possibly can. Now, look, there are going to be times it's going to be Q&A, but, you don't have to talk if you don't want to. Don't feel any pressure to do that. But I saw an article the other day that said happy people talk more and with more substance. So if you don't have anything to say, we're just going to assume you're just miserable and pretty shallow. So, but no. But we do. We're so grateful you're here. Thank you for coming. Hope you'll come back next week. And so let's take a quick break and get back to our tables. Thank you all for being here.